Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the State Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Department of Education, Secretary of State's office, and notice has been given to the State House Press Corps, the Governor's office, and the State Board agenda subscribers. And as a quorum is present, this meeting will now come to order. May I please have a motion?
So move.
Thank you very much. May I please have a second? Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? The motion is approved. And whereas, in order to protect the personal privacy and to avoid situations wherein public interest might be disturbed, the Open Public Meetings Act permits public bodies to exclude the public from the portion of the meeting in which certain matters are discussed. Now, therefore, be it resolved that consistent with the provision of NJSA 10:4-12B, the State Board of Education will now adjourn to executive session to discuss personnel and legal matters. May I please have a motion? Thank you very much, Board Member Bennett. May I please have a second? Thank you very much. Past President Arcilio Ponte, all in favor of adjourning to executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Any abstentions? Motion is approved. Thank you very much. We should be back. It is now 9:20. I would suspect we'll be back a few minutes after 10. Thank you so much.
Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries and valuable benefits. Be that teacher. Visit teachinspire.nj.gov. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher in New Jersey. You'll help shape the next generation alongside a dedicated community of educators. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries, valuable benefits, and a solid pension plan. So be that teacher. Make an impact. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. To learn more, visit teachinspire.nj.gov. If you're a teacher, you've had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, more feel that way but may not say it. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. If you're a teacher, you've probably had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, there are more who feel that way but may not say it. You can't know how many, but it's more than you think. Because you've done more than teach. You've inspired. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, inspire, New Jersey.
¿Recuerda a aquel maestro que le cambió la vida? Usted podría ser ese maestro en Nueva Jersey. Únase a la comunidad de educadores que ayudará a formar a la próxima generación. Nueva Jersey cuenta con algunas de las mejores escuelas públicas del país, con salarios competitivos, beneficios atractivos y un sólido plan de pensiones. Sea ese maestro. Deje huella. Enseñe, inspire. Nueva Jersey. Visite teachinspire.nj.gov.
Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries and valuable benefits. Be that teacher. Visit teachinspire.nj.gov. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher in New Jersey. You'll help shape the next generation alongside a dedicated community of educators. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries, valuable benefits, and a solid pension plan. So be that teacher. Make an impact. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. To learn more, visit teachinspire.nj.gov. If you're a teacher, you've had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, more feel that way but may not say it. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, inspire, New Jersey. If you're a teacher, you've probably had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, there are more who feel that way but may not say it. You can't know how many, but it's more than you think. Because you've done more than teach. You've inspired. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, inspire, New Jersey.
¿Recuerda a aquel maestro que le cambió la vida? Usted podría ser ese maestro en Nueva Jersey. Únase a la comunidad de educadores que ayudará a formar a la próxima generación. Nueva Jersey cuenta con algunas de las mejores escuelas públicas del país. con salarios competitivos, beneficios atractivos y un sólido plan de pensiones. Sea ese maestro. Deje huella. Enseñe, inspire. Nueva Jersey. Visite teachinspire.nj.gov.
Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries and valuable benefits. Be that teacher. Visit teachinspire.nj.gov. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher in New Jersey. You'll help shape the next generation alongside a dedicated community of educators. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries, valuable benefits, and a solid pension plan. So be that teacher. Make an impact. Teach, inspire, New Jersey. To learn more, visit teachinspire.nj.gov. If you're a teacher, you've had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, more feel that way but may not say it. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. If you're a teacher, you've probably had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, there are more who feel that way but may not say it. You can't know how many, but it's more than you think. Because you've done more than teach. You've inspired. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey.
¿Recuerda a aquel maestro que le cambió la vida? Usted podría ser ese maestro en Nueva Jersey. Únase a la comunidad de educadores que ayudará a formar a la próxima generación. Nueva Jersey cuenta con algunas de las mejores escuelas públicas del país, con salarios competitivos, beneficios atractivos y un sólido plan de pensiones. Sea ese maestro. Deje huella. Enseñe, inspire. Nueva Jersey. Visite teachinspire.nj.gov.
Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries and valuable benefits. Be that teacher. Visit teachinspire.nj.gov. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher in New Jersey. You'll help shape the next generation alongside a dedicated community of educators. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries, valuable benefits, and a solid pension plan. So be that teacher. Make an impact. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. To learn more, visit teachinspire.nj.gov. If you're a teacher, you've had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, more feel that way but may not say it. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. If you're a teacher, you've probably had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, there are more who feel that way but may not say it. You can't know how many, but it's more than you think. Because you've done more than teach, you've inspired. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, inspire, New Jersey.
¿Recuerda a aquel maestro que le cambió la vida? Usted podría ser ese maestro en Nueva Jersey. Únase a la comunidad de educadores que ayudará a formar a la próxima generación. Nueva Jersey cuenta con algunas de las mejores escuelas públicas del país, con salarios competitivos, beneficios atractivos y un sólido plan de pensiones. Sea ese maestro. Deje huella. Enseñe, inspire. Nueva Jersey. Visite teachinspire.nj.gov.
Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries and valuable benefits. Be that teacher. Visit teachinspire.nj.gov. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher in New Jersey. You'll help shape the next generation alongside a dedicated community of educators. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries, valuable benefits, and a solid pension plan. So be that teacher. Make an impact. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. To learn more, visit teachinspire.nj.gov. If you're a teacher, you've had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, more feel that way but may not say it. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, inspire, New Jersey. If you're a teacher, you've probably had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, there are more who feel that way but may not say it. You can't know how many, but it's more than you think. Because you've done more than teach. You've inspired. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, inspire, New Jersey.
¿Recuerda a aquel maestro que le cambió la vida? Usted podría ser ese maestro en Nueva Jersey. Únase a la comunidad de educadores que ayudará a formar a la próxima generación. Nueva Jersey cuenta con algunas de las mejores escuelas públicas del país. con salarios competitivos, beneficios atractivos y un sólido plan de pensiones. Sea ese maestro. Deje huella. Enseñe, inspire. Nueva Jersey. Visite teachinspire.nj.gov.
Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries and valuable benefits. Be that teacher. Visit teachinspire.nj.gov. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher in New Jersey. You'll help shape the next generation alongside a dedicated community of educators. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries, valuable benefits, and a solid pension plan. So be that teacher. Make an impact. Teach, inspire, New Jersey. To learn more, visit teachinspire.nj.gov. If you're a teacher, you've had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, more feel that way but may not say it. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey. If you're a teacher, you've probably had students tell you how much you mean to them. And for everyone who does, there are more who feel that way but may not say it. You can't know how many, but it's more than you think. Because you've done more than teach. You've inspired. Remember that teacher who changed your life? You're that teacher to a lot of people. Teach, Inspire, New Jersey.
¿Recuerda a aquel maestro que le cambió la vida? Usted podría ser ese maestro en Nueva Jersey. Únase a la comunidad de educadores que ayudará a formar a la próxima generación. Nueva Jersey cuenta con algunas de las mejores escuelas públicas del país, con salarios competitivos, beneficios atractivos y un sólido plan de pensiones. Sea ese maestro. Deje huella. Enseñe, inspire. Nueva Jersey. Visite teachinspire.nj.gov.
Remember that teacher who changed your life? You could be that teacher. New Jersey has some of the best public schools in the country with competitive salaries and valuable benefits. Be that teacher. Visit teachinspire.nj.gov.
I think this is better than this. Okay. Thank you everyone for being here. It's good to see you. I'd like to resume with the public portion of our meeting, please. Whereas consistent with the provision of NJSA 10:4-12B, the State Board will now adjourn from executive session to resume the open session portion of our meeting. May I please have a motion? Thank you, sir. May I please have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
You, any opposed? All right, we'll go ahead. And I won't ask if there are any abstentions. Dr. Johnson, Vice President Johnson, will you please lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance? To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. So as far as announcements, the state board meetings are accessible to the public for viewing on the YouTube channel. I would like to advise that YouTube provides readily accessible language translation options for closed captioning. If you are viewing our simulcast currently, you may use the settings option in YouTube for information regarding subtitles, auto translations, and closed captioning in multiple languages. I'd like for the board members to please vote on the minutes from our March 4th meeting. May I please have a motion for the minutes of the February State Board of Ed meeting at this time? Thank you so much, Board Member Bennett. May I please have a second? Thank you very much, Dr. Keenan. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions?
I abstain.
Thank you. Sorry. So we will not be holding public testimony today on the draft of the religious holidays candle resolution that was read and the proposed, or that was sent out, and the proposed amendments for Chapter 9B, State Board of Examiners and certification pertaining to military science endorsement, as we did not receive any registrants to speak on those topics. Public testimony will be held on May 6th, as it is open public testimony opportunity, meaning that the registered members of the public may speak on any educational topic of choice. The state board members who are scheduled to be here are Jeanette Pena, Mary Beth Berry, Ahmed Shahada, and Ron Butcher. They're all scheduled for public testimony next month. James Williams and Ned Johnson are alternate. State board members who are unable to sit for these important public testimony sessions are asked to please reach out to the alternates or others if they're unavailable. And now we go to our student representative, Kaylin DeRose. If you would please know that she is a junior at East Brunswick High School in Middlesex County. Her advisor, Bonnie Bencard, are you here? Stand up. Thank you. Today, we also have Alex Mazzella, who is our director, executive director of NJASC, who's in the audience. Yay. Thank you. Kaylin, whenever you're ready, we're eager to hear your report.
Thank you, President Goldenberg, and good morning, everyone. Before I start this month's report, I would like to highlight that my successor, Amelia Reynolds, a current sophomore at Collingswood High School, has officially been elected at the New Jersey Association of Student Council's 100th Annual Winter Convention. Amelia will not be with us today, but I send high regards, and I'm incredibly excited to introduce her in person in June. When I first met Amelia, I quickly noticed how many clubs and activities in which she participates in. As a matter of fact, all of the students I've met through NJASC participate in some form of activity outside of school or student council. New Jersey prides itself on having the top education in the country. We do our best to work with schools, support teachers, and listen to students to achieve this high standing. As proper student learning standards and balanced teacher-to-student ratios are important to student success, so are extracurricular activities. According to the Journal of Youth and Adolescence, adolescents who participate in extracurricular activities demonstrate higher levels of academic achievement, greater character development, greater social development, and a greater sense of importance in community involvement. Extracurriculars provide the opportunity to teach content that cannot exclusively be taught in a classroom, such as problem solving, collaboration, perseverance, and leadership. Extracurriculars also reduce chronic absenteeism, as they work as the glue between classes in forming essential skills and preparing students for the future. Of course, not every school or activity is the same. While about 80% of children in high-income areas participate in one or more after-school activities, that percentage is halved to about 40% of children in low-income areas. By no surprise, there's also a high disparity in how many options are available for students by income. And private schools also often have higher quantity and quality of activities. Extracurriculars exist within and outside of school, but those in school are more accessible, more affordable, and more reliable. The ability for a student to have to not drive miles for an activity or not pay high membership fees is incredibly important to students who don't have access to reliable parent transportation or the funds spent on extracurricular activities. It's vital to keep these opportunities present in schools across the state. I say this now because many local boards of education, including mine, are working with budgets for the upcoming school year. With federal funding cuts and changes to funding allocations across the state, schools are working with less, and routinely these clubs will be the first to go. Of course, every district is unique, and many factors go into the decision to eliminate activities for funding from programs. By recognizing the importance of extracurricular activities in schools, we can understand the value that's lost when cutting them. I would like to end with a more triumphant story at East Brunswick High School. EBHS had a video newsmakers club which would broadcast daily morning announcements. The school environment was formed during homeroom by a small group of students who made up the club. The club dedicated mornings to writing scripts, presenting behind the camera, and working with other clubs to promote events and activities. In the middle of this past school year, the club was abruptly shut down, with the co-presidents having no prior knowledge that it was coming. Not only did the group lose their club status, but the students were no longer permitted to use any equipment or the green screen room. With weeks of dedication from the entire club membership, a petition was signed to partially reinstate the club. The organization is now permitted to occasionally create videos, although the daily video announcements have not returned. Video Newsmakers was not the first club shut down, and it probably will not be the last during my time in high school. I share this story as an inspiration for students who also have connections, community, and find importance in these activities. The strength students hold isn't only in numbers. I also share this story for school leaders across the state to highlight the student perspective of these changes. As African American contralto Marian Anderson said, leadership should be born out of the understanding of the needs of those who are affected by it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know that you are a superstar, but how many extracurriculars are you personally involved with?
Wow, that is. Do you want like a number or?
Yeah.
Well,
More than 5?
yes.
Okay. Do they select at East Brunswick High School, for example, which alternatives will be kept provided by the high school based on the number of attendees?
They do track by student interest and also what the club brings to the school environment.
Is there a cutoff number that you're aware of?
I'm not aware of a specific cutoff number, but I do know if clubs for maybe, let's say, a certain amount of years have been having lower enrollment amounts, they do keep an eye on that club and see if it's something that they could project will remain for the next school year.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? I believe Board Member Bennett, a comment?
You haven't gone yet and I already miss you. So the example that you shared with us was very poignant, especially when the program for the video group was abruptly stopped and they had been given no prior notice. What do you think would have been a better approach by the school administration?
I think students, especially the club leaders, such as their co-presidents, would have appreciated if notice, of course, came to the school year prior, because then the students could figure out a more permanent solution or alternative. I think in the middle of the school year, not only is it a bit awkward to end something while it's continuing, but because students went through the last school year's cuts and adjustments with the budget, thinking that they made it and that they wouldn't have to worry about it for the next school year, it did definitely come as surprising. So I think if that communication is over the summer or at least ahead of time, the students definitely would have appreciated it. Thank you.
if anyone else had questions or comments that were online, our board members or in person. But thank you very, very much. We appreciate you. Did you have comments at this time? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Just a thank you and a reiterating of, your thoughtful approach to things, I think, is always very insightful. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And now I would like to discuss a resolution in recognition of School Library Month in New Jersey. Today, we have the State Board to consider a ceremonial resolution in recognition of our School Library Month here. Before the resolution is read, may I please have a motion to consider this resolution in recognition of School Library Month in New Jersey? May I please have a motion? Thank you very much. May I please have a second?
Second.
Thank you very much. And now, State Board Member James Williams, I'd ask you to please read the resolution publicly for us.
Resolution in recognition of School Library Month in New Jersey. Whereas the month of April 2026 has been designated nationally as a School Library Month by the American Association of School Librarians, and whereas the New Jersey State Board of Education values the role that certified school library media specialists play in the collaborative process of literacy and learning, whereas the school library media specialist role is to provide the leadership and expertise necessary to ensure that the school library is an integral part of the instructional program of the school, allowing opportunities for learning and innovation. And whereas the school library media specialists assist with the literacy development to raise the literacy rates by inspiring students to develop a lifelong love of reading, and whereas the school libraries provide materials allowing for free expression of access to ideas, meeting the individual needs, varied interests, abilities, socioeconomic backgrounds, and maturity levels of the students served. And whereas the school library media specialist connects students and staff to ideas and knowledge by providing instruction and information literacy and teaching students to utilize information for specific purposes using traditional resources and emerging technologies. And whereas the school library media specialists teach students how to locate, evaluate a broad range of ideas with the goal of students developing critical thinking and problem-solving skills as part of information literacy instruction. And whereas it is both fitting and proper that special recognition be given to the school libraries and the contributions of certified school library media specialists in meeting the New Jersey Department of Education's mission to ensure that all students have equitably access to a high quality education and achieve academic excellence. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the New Jersey Board of Education and the Commissioner of Education recognize April 2026 as School Library Month in New Jersey.
Thank you very much. There's a resolution on the floor. Is there any discussion at this time? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? Please signify by saying I oppose. Any abstentions? Conflicts of interest? Hearing none, the motion is approved. Thank you. We'd like to ask Ms. Gabrielle Cassiera, President. If I mispronounced it, please let me, Cassieri, yes. Thank you. And she is the president of the New Jersey Association of School Librarians, and Mary Moyer. Okay, thank you. If you would like to say a few words, that'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, can you hear me now? I can. Thank you. On behalf of the New Jersey Association of School Librarians, I would like to thank the members of the State Board of Education and Commissioner Locks for proclaiming April as School Library Month. As the State Board of Education moves to adopt new standards in information and digital literacy, school librarians are positioned to assist with the implementation of those standards in core areas linked directly to our certification. In New Jersey, the School Library Media Specialist certification includes delivery of instruction in information literacy skills. Librarians teach students to think critically and how to sift through the layers of information that they experience daily. This instruction prepares students for post-secondary success and global citizenship. School library media specialists collaborate with their colleagues in literacy efforts that go beyond simply decoding language to improve reading comprehension. School librarians promote curiosity, encourage independent critical thinking, and provide students with opportunities to develop a true lifelong love of reading and learning. School library media specialists are the educator equivalent of the Swiss Army knife. We are adaptable, inventive, and collaborative partners in education, and we thank you for this resolution that recognizes their value and contributions to the students of New Jersey. Thank you.
And now we're going to discuss the resolution in recognition of National Speech, Language, and Hearing Month. I would like to ask the state board to consider this resolution. Before it's read, may I please have a motion to consider the resolution in recognition of National Speech, Hearing, Language Month? Thank you, sir. May I please have a second? Thank you very much, madam. And Dr. Board Member, Dr. Claudine Keenan will read the resolution to us at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. A resolution in recognition of National Speech Language Hearing Month in New Jersey. Whereas the month of May 2026 is being celebrated as National Speech Language Hearing Month, and whereas the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Department of Education recognize that many students have communication disorders and acknowledge the significance that the ability to communicate plays in building personal and societal relationships as students grow and mature. And whereas National Speech Language Hearing Month is a time to raise awareness about communication disorders and to encourage children and families to receive appropriate screenings and evaluations. And whereas National Speech Language Hearing Month is also a time to acknowledge the hard work of audiologists, speech language pathologists, and speech, language, and hearing scientists, and the contributions they make that remarkably affect the lives of students in New Jersey. And whereas these professionals are invested in serving the needs of students with speech, language, and hearing disorders to foster success in all aspects of their lives by prioritizing effective communication for the highest quality of life. And whereas the New Jersey Speech Language Hearing Association supports students and professionals by its professional development offerings, advocacy efforts, and public awareness campaigns designed to ensure that a high-quality care is provided. And whereas it is both fitting and proper that special recognition be given to acknowledge May 2026 as National Speech Language Hearing Month, along with commending the New Jersey Speech Language Hearing Association for its role in providing outstanding service to professionals throughout the state of New Jersey. Now, therefore be it resolved that the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Commissioner of Education recognize May 2026 as National Speech Language Hearing Month in New Jersey.
Thank you very much, Dr. Keenan. There's a motion on the floor. So all those in favor, please say aye. Oh, excuse me. Is there any discussion at this time? Hearing none. May I please have an aye for those board members who are in favor of this?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Thank you. If anyone would not like this to be accepted, would you please say nay at this time? Hearing none. Are there any abstentions at this time? Hearing none. All right. The motion is approved unanimously. Thank you. I'd like to invite Donna Spillman Kennedy, immediate past president of the New Jersey Speech Hearing Association, to please come to the podium and accept the resolution and pose for a picture. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much to the board for this great honor. I am so excited to be here, and I really appreciate everyone recognizing the importance of audiologists, speech language hearing scientists, and speech language pathologists. We provide very needed services within our schools, and it was very exciting to be here when you were recognizing the Library Association, as oral language is so deeply connected to reading and writing. So we're very excited by that. Also, just to let those in the library world know that we partnered with the New Jersey Library Association 2 years ago to develop communication boards for those who are minimally verbal or non-speaking, to communicate with librarians in both public schools, private schools, and in the community. So we are all about collaboration. As we know, speech, language, and hearing is what prepares all of us as individuals for a lifetime of work. Thank you.
Thank you. It is essential. Thank you. Are there any comments at this time? All right, hearing none. Now we're going to go to the recognition of the Autism Acceptance Month within New Jersey. I would like us to consider a resolution, please. To consider a ceremonial resolution in recognition of the Autism Acceptance Month in New Jersey. Before it is read to you, there is a motion that we'd like to consider. If I could please have that motion. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, sir. So I'd like to ask Board Member Mary Bennett to please read the resolution into the record.
Resolution in recognition of Autism Acceptance Month in New Jersey. Whereas the month of April is globally acknowledged as Autism Acceptance Month, dedicated to increasing awareness, understanding, and acceptance of autism spectrum disorder, and whereas it is important to recognize and support individuals with autism by fostering a learning environment and community that embraces neurodiversity and promotes inclusivity. And whereas autism spectrum disorders are characterized by a range of challenges and strengths impacting social communication, behavior, and sensory experiences. And whereas raising awareness about autism is essential in promoting early diagnosis, intervention, and access to appropriate resources and support. And whereas creating an inclusive and supportive environment for individuals with autism involves promoting understanding, empathy, and acceptance within schools, workplaces, homes, and communities. And whereas the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Commissioner of Education acknowledge the importance of fostering understanding and support for individuals on the autism spectrum and recognizing their unique social and emotional needs. And whereas creating inclusive and supportive learning environments that cultivate positive relationships, understanding, and empathy for all students including those with autism, is integral to the mission of the New Jersey Department of Education. And whereas the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Commission of Education are committed to promoting inclusive practices with educational settings to ensure safe, supportive, and equitable learning environments for all. And whereas collaboration among schools, families, and the broader community is essential to enhancing awareness and understanding of autism and to furthering inclusive practices that benefit every student. And whereas the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Commission of Education recognize the ongoing efforts required to advance autism awareness and acceptance, contributing to the creation of a more compassionate and inclusive community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the New Jersey State Board of Education and the Commission of Education hereby recognize April 2026 as Autism Awareness Month in New Jersey.
Thank you so much, Board Member Bennett. Thank you. There's a motion already on the floor. Is there any discussion, comments at this time? Questions? Hearing none, may I please hear from all those in favor? Would you please say aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Is there any opposition? Please say nay. Are there any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. And I would like to please, and the motion is approved, I would like to please invite Ms. Stacy Sherman to speak to us. Thank you. You have a parent of 2 young adults, and we'd like to hear what you have to say. Thank you.
So I was told I'm too short. I have to stand. So. Good morning, and thank you, Commissioner, President, board members, for this meaningful proclamation recognizing April as Autism Acceptance Month. My name is Stacy Sherman. I'm honored to be here on behalf of Autism New Jersey, an organization dedicated to ensuring that autistic individuals and their families have access to the support, understanding, and services they need and deserve. This proclamation carries great significance, not only professionally, but personally. As a mother of 2 children on the autism spectrum, I've seen firsthand how acceptance helps our children grow and thrive. It happens in those small but unforgettable moments when kids are welcomed and embraced exactly as they are. Like the day a girl on the playground took my daughter Brielle's hand and encouraged her to play without hesitation or judgment. Moments like that stay with a family forever. Every act of acceptance helps create a more inclusive New Jersey. On behalf of Autism New Jersey, thank you for your partnership and for using your platform to amplify what acceptance truly means. Thank you for making April a moment of recognition, one that encourages acceptance every day of the year. Thank you.
I have one more report. Assistant Commissioner Ambrose Duckett and I had the honor of presenting the Military Child Proclamation at the ceremony put on at the Joint Base McGuire, Dix, and Lakehurst on April 1st, last Wednesday. There were 21 schools from New Jersey in attendance. Currently, New Jersey has 7,266 active duty and National Guard students comprising from kindergarten through their senior year. At the proclamation ceremony, the military branches that were in attendance, along with Assistant Commissioner Duckett and myself, were commanders from the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, the Coast Guard, and Marine Corps. And they had other commanders there that were the strike people and different subsets, but they were all so impressive. The commanders from these bases spoke very movingly about the students' contributions and how their strength and family support make it possible for servicemen and women to protect our country while having their family move together with them. Many of the students indicated that they've moved as much as 6 times in their early lives to different school systems, and how difficult at times that can be to make new friends continually. But they were very strong, and their educational process was obvious the way they spoke so well. Candidly, this ceremony was very moving, and it was a highlight in my presidency. I don't know if you want to say anything, Assistant Commissioner Duckett. Please. Your microphone, sir.
Thank you, Assistant Commissioner Consul. One of the things I want to highlight is during the ceremony, the board president and I had an opportunity to interact with the families. And one thing was consistent, that a lot of families chose to get transferred to New Jersey because of the educational system and the education that we provide here. So I think that is a celebration to the State Board of Education and everybody in this room for our collaborative efforts as stakeholders for the students of New Jersey. And I was especially moved by the 2 students who spoke about their experiences of moving around. And one young lady, she was asked how would she describe herself? And she said nice at first, but then she just talked about her experiences of perseverance, of caring, of preferring. And she said there's a lot that goes into making a military child, because they move so often that they make friends and then in 2 or 3 years have to leave and reestablish new friendships. And it was such a powerful ceremony. I was honored to be there with the board president to celebrate the month of the military child. So if they're watching, I think we need to celebrate the families and those who serve and protect for our freedoms and rights.
Thank you, sir.
Let's start. Thank you.
So we'll move on to the petition for rulemaking. The State Board received a petition for rulemaking from Robert Goodman on January 6, 2026. The petitioner asked that the State Board adopt new rules of NJAC 6A:9A to restore rules as they existed at NJAC 6A:9A-5.6 to being readopted with amendments from 2023. Commissioner Locks and I have determined that further deliberations are required before acting upon this petition. The extended deliberation will allow us to make a well thought of and informed conclusion that considers both workforce realities as well as the need to uphold rigorous standards for educators serving in New Jersey schools, specifically with the documented shortage that we have in these areas. The notice of action is posted on the Department of Education's webpage for anyone who would like to read the specific details. And now we'll continue with our State Board reports. Dr. Johnson with the Administrative Policy Committee, if you would like to please inform the public. Thank you.
Actually, I'll be reporting on the Instructional Policy Committee.
I'm so sorry.
That's We met on March 30th, 2026 to discuss excuse me, the implementation of the recently passed literacy legislation, which establishes universal literacy screening as a requirement for all schools. Further, we discussed the overview of the proposed revisions to the preschool standards. Since both of these items are on today's agenda, I will forego a more detailed report.
Thank you, sir. And now back to our other committee.
The Administrative Policy Committee met on March 26 to discuss the limited certification of eligibility and the certificate of eligibility with advanced standing, limited CE/CEAS, the pilot program that started in 2023 and will continue and conclude at the end of the 26-27 school year. As this is on today's agenda under the Commissioner's report, I will forego any further details in my report and let you hear the total report from that department.
Thank you. This month, the state board members once again had a wonderful opportunity to visit and accompany Commissioner Locks on her visit to schools across the state. I would like to offer my thanks to the Commissioner for the invitation and to thank the host schools that we had the pleasure to visit, Northern Burlington and Vineland. The opportunities that are provided for the students were impressive. And then Dr. Johnson, Dr. Keenan, and myself were also fortunate to visit the Cumberland Votech School, and we're delighted as well to hear from the students and the things they're working on and how much of a great education they're receiving. So now I will turn the meeting over to Commissioner Locks. Thank you.
Thank you so much, President Goldenberg. I have two reports today, and you just heard reference to both of them in the committee updates. So we're going to start with that limited certificate of eligibility and limited certificate of eligibility with advanced standing report. So this presentation will give you a little bit more context about why this pilot was created, what participation looked like, and outcomes data gathered to date, and highlight key findings as the program enters its final years. Importantly, this is not a recommendation at this time. So this is brought before you for informational purposes and to provide data and evidence for future discussions where you may wish to make a recommendation. So as you'll see, we've carefully monitored that implementation. Hopefully we'll get the sound figured out. Sorry. And again, hopefully you'll consider what future actions might look like. So I'm excited to turn it over to Assistant Commissioner Jordan Schiff and Executive Director Lisa Haberl of the Division of Teaching and Learning to tell you about this program.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, President Goldenberg, Vice President Johnson, and members of the State Board of Education. Today, we're presenting for your information a report on the limited certificate of eligibility and the limited certificate of eligibility with advanced standing pilot program. The 5-year pilot program started in 2022, the 2023 school year, and will conclude after the 26-27 school year. In this presentation, we'll be providing an overview of the pilot along with some data from the program.
This pilot program was enacted through PL 2021, Chapter 224, as a legislative response to ongoing teacher shortages across the state. The central purpose of the pilot was to allow otherwise qualified candidates to waive exactly one certification requirement when that requirement presents a barrier that is not necessarily indicative of classroom readiness. There are key guardrails that are important to emphasize. The pilot applies only to instructional certificates, not administrative roles. Candidates may waive one and only one requirement, such as GPA, course credits within a subject area, or an assessment. Limited CE and CEAS holders may only work in commissioner-approved districts, ensuring oversight and intentional placement.
The data presented in this report are drawn from the department's annual employment snapshot, generated each October through the NJ SLEDS data system. This statewide snapshot captures where limited CE and limited CEAS holders are employed at a single point in time each year, providing a consistent benchmark for tracking participation and workforce trends. Because the most recent snapshot was taken in October of 2025, all employment totals and analyses in this presentation reflect limited CE, CEAS educators working in approved New Jersey school districts as of that date. This timing ensures that the information is both standardized and comparable across pilot years, offering a clear view of how the program is being utilized statewide. Over the 4 years of the pilot, the department has issued a total of 3,445 limited certificates. What stands out here is not just the volume, but the alignment. Nearly 80% of employed limited certificate holders are working in their area of certification. That alignment has improved dramatically from 37% in the first year to over 79% in year 4. It is also important to clarify that this alignment reflects educators working appropriately within their credentials. In many cases, individuals hold multiple certificates, which explains why alignment has improved over time rather than suggesting out-of-field placement.
It is important to note that nearly a quarter of all participants in the pilot are serving in high-need teacher shortage areas. The largest concentrations of limited CE, CEAS holders are working in English as a second language and mathematics. Without the limited certificate, these 454 positions in teacher shortage areas may have been left unfilled. These findings suggest that the pilot has played a role in addressing staffing needs in hard-to-staff disciplines, particularly in districts experiencing persistent vacancies.
One of the most important questions is whether this flexibility has affected educator quality. The data shown here reflects 120 teachers who, as of the October snapshot, were working in positions aligned with their limited certificate. Their student growth outcomes are comparable to novice, non-tenured teachers who hold standard certification. Early data shows that limited certificate holders demonstrate student growth outcomes comparable to other novice teachers statewide. The majority of limited certificate holders are rated as effective for student growth. Or certified novice teachers there is a notable distinction here between the highly effective category, where traditionally certified novice teachers appear more frequently, as you can see in the chart.
This slide highlights how the program has evolved in response to broader policy changes. Originally, the Praxis Core Basic Skills Assessment was the most commonly waived requirement for limited CE candidates. However, in 2024, New Jersey eliminated the Praxis Core as a certification requirement for all candidates. That policy change significantly altered how the pilot functions. Candidates who previously needed a waiver for the Praxis Core can now obtain certification. Candidates seeking flexibility in GPA or coursework must still pass the Praxis Core to enter the limited CE pathway. This shift helps explain the decline in limited CE participation rates in year 4 that we shared earlier in the presentation. By contrast, the limited CEAS pathway, primarily used to waive the Praxis 2 subject assessment, has remained stable.
This concludes our presentation, and we're available to answer any questions that you may have.
You go first.
Thank you. Thank you for the information in your presentation. Was there any collection of diversity data over the term of the pilot?
Yes, diversity data is collected, and we can share that with the board at a future date.
Thank you.
Okay.
What do you think the collected data might suggest regarding future policy decisions in this area?
I think it's still too early to tell at this point. Remember, our data snapshot lags a year behind, so really we're looking at just a few years. Once we have completed the 5-year pilot, and we're also talking internally about having some outside evaluation of the efficacy of this particular program, it's important to answer just a few obvious questions, like how did our students do being taught by a teacher with limited certificates? Did it help us fill positions that wouldn't have been filled otherwise, especially in those critical shortage areas? And are there other factors, such as are the employers happy and pleased with limited certificate holders as compared to non-limited certificate holders? So all of that information needs to be gathered. Remember, the data lags, so it's going to take us a little bit of time in order to analyze that full data. But the overall, it's looking like it's moving in a direction to fill a particular need, especially in those areas that Lisa talked about, which were the bilingual math areas where we have more critical shortage areas. And she's going to refer to that.
Thank you.
It's not a question so much as an elaboration on the data that Vice President Johnson requested. About a quarter of them ended up in the high needs positions, which has some policy implications immediately. May we have in the data set that you prepare for us the other certification areas along with the numbers and have that as well by diversity data as well. So we can see crosstabs if you do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Good morning. Thank you for this wonderful presentation. Just in terms of, you presented some data on slide 3. Just curious to know, you also mentioned targeted districts or districts that were part of the program. Did they include charter schools as well?
It was all public schools, including
Public
charter
schools,
schools.
including charter schools.
Yeah, but not all districts participated.
Right,
So,
not all districts
yeah,
participate.
so they had to actually apply and fill out an application in order to accept. We accept them, and then they're able to accept limited certificate.
Were there districts that were maybe disproportionately hiring or welcoming, I should say, I guess, limited certified holders, or some districts?
Yeah, the law
more-
required that a very small portion are limited certificates, but we can get you that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
Sure.
Thank you.
One of our, I keep trying to not have the reverberations for the audience. Slide 5, please.
Yep.
So we talked about it a little bit in committee, but I'm still very concerned that partially effective and ineffective, unfortunately for our students, were 19% for some of the areas and 17.5%. And I'm just wondering, now that we know this and we have this data, what are we doing to catch those students up if they needed to be? How are we helping them?
Yeah, I just want to clarify what this chart is looking at. This is looking at 5% of the overall teacher evaluation. So this is only looking at the student growth indicator, which in this case is the median student growth percentile ranking. So the median student growth percentile ranking is only for a subset of teachers. So we only generate an MSGP for teachers that teach in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade in English language arts, or in those grades. I'm sorry, and 9th grade. We do it for 9th grade for ELA, and up to 8th grade, starting in 4th grade for mathematics. So it's a subset of teachers. So I ask that you look at this as what it is, which is a narrow slice of performance. What this chart particularly indicates is that there doesn't seem to be a difference between the MSGP generated from novice teachers as there is for those with limited certificates in terms of effective and highly effective. We do see more highly effective for the novice teachers when compared against the limited certificated teachers.
Okay.
So I don't want you to walk away thinking the entire state of New Jersey has this percentage of teachers that are ineffective.
How many
That is
students
not-
were affected then with this?
Well, in terms of the limited certificate, we don't have the actual student count, but we do have the teacher count. So the teacher count for the limited certificate here is about 120 at this point. Now remember, the teachers, yeah. But in terms to answer your question more directly about what do we do in order to help and provide support for our teachers where the student growth percentile is lower than average, that happens at the local district level. as teachers and principals are working with their teachers, vice principals working with their teachers, supervisors of curriculum are working with their teachers to identify individual needs within that particular class. So remember, this median student growth percentile is a median score of multiple students. So you may have a lot of students that are actually doing well and some students that are doing not so well. And how do we intervene for those particular students? We're actually going to be doing a presentation in a couple moments talking about the interventions that are generated from the universal screening data also. So we'll have more conversations, but a lot of this question about, well, what do we do when a child is not performing as well? What do we do when we identify a teacher that's not performing as well is handled on a local level based upon the evaluation and the evaluation process that occurs multiple times throughout the school year.
Please, Mary Bennett.
Is it a requirement for the districts that applied and were accepted and now are working with these teachers? Is it required that there be an induction coach assigned to those people? What do we do to ensure that the districts who are accepting the people through this pilot get the support they need, because they're still new teachers?
Yeah, they're required to go through all of the mentoring and other programs that support any novice teacher. So they are inducted in the same way that a non-tenured staff member, new hire, is inducted throughout the state. The difference here is that they have waived one of the requirements that are offered for certification.
What's the tracking? What's the follow-up to be sure that indeed the supports that are needed are given?
After the pilot, do you mean?
Yes, specifically for the teachers in the pilot.
Well, we do request information from those districts about, would you hire this teacher back again? What is your overall satisfaction? And we're tracking that relative to how teachers are typically invited back over their first non-tenured years to see if there's any significant difference at that point. At this point, there isn't. So we'll have to see.
I'm so sorry. Thank you. Board Member Pena, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, I'd like to compliment this program that we have. I've had firsthand knowledge of some of the staff that have been hired underneath this program. And while I do agree, they do not have perhaps the K-12 experience of teaching. I have seen PhD level college professors that have chosen to go in this area, and with a little bit of guidance and support, obviously, it's been very successful from what I've seen. I think that this has just expanded the arena of possible candidates that have come in with CTE as well. Maybe some people that perhaps didn't consider this or felt that going back to school to teach at the K-12 would have been a very long and arduous task for them. I'm happy to see a lot of success with this. So I compliment the department, and I think it's good. I give it a thumbs up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Just
ma'am.
last, making sure our request for data is really clear, that to Board President Goldenberg's request for composite performance by certification area and diversity data. Again, those cross tabs. I know that's difficult, but I think that's really important to show us exactly how this program impacted the praise that Board Member Pena just gave to the program. So if we could see that, that'd be great. Thank you. And, oh, I'm sorry, one more thing, by CEAS and CE. That as well. Thank you.
Geez, my microphone is tripping. I want to thank the board for the robust discussion, and this question of what is this additional data and analysis that we want to see with this program, I think is really important. As the team shared, we will get more data. This is certainly lagging, and we'll have to continue to look at that. So appreciate, again, the insightful requests, and we look forward to getting you more information on it.
Thank you.
We've already previewed, but my second report for the day, which is, spoiler alert, also going to be shared by Assistant Commissioner Schiff and Executive Director Haberl, is about the important work that we're doing to improve literacy. So teacher shortage and literacy this morning. With this work, I also, I'm okay? Okay, sorry. I'm also thrilled that we've already heard this morning about the importance of oral language for the science of teaching reading, and we'll be sharing more about this initial implementation of the universal literacy screener legislation. So when we talk about this today, this screener is an important shift in how we approach literacy as a state. And this is an assessment that is really used for this careful identification of particular skills for students to be able to help them with those foundational skills that are predictive of long-term success in literacy. So you'll see that today, that these are not evaluation tools, but these are really instructional tools to make sure that students are getting that important support and that we're strengthening those interventions early. So again, you'll see how we establish that baseline. You'll hear a little bit more again about what we're doing to support where implementation is not fully at scale. And just again, want to emphasize that this is really about connecting data to action, and that this identification is the first step as we continue to work with our teachers to make sure we have strong reading instruction, high quality instructional materials, targeted interventions, and sustained professional learning. So with that, again, screening alone does not move things forward, but it's an important step and really great and exciting data. So I will turn it over to Assistant Commissioner Chef and Executive Director Haverhill.
Thank you again, Commissioner. We are excited to share with you this morning the beginning of the year universal literacy screening data with you. The passage of Public Law 2024, Chapter 52 established universal literacy screening as a requirement for all schools, providing consistent statewide insight into student performance on the indicators most predictive of future literacy success. With the creation of the Office of Learning Equity and Academic Recovery, or LEAR, we were charged with strengthening the department's capacity to make data-driven decisions regarding literacy and learning equity policies, as well as coordinating resources across the department to ensure supports are aligned and effective.
This year marks a significant shift under PL 2024, Chapter 52, as all districts across New Jersey implement universal literacy screening. As Commissioner underscored earlier, this is a tool for instruction, not evaluation, designed to help local education agencies understand the health of their systems in alignment with evidence-based literacy measures. The goal is simple: screen early so we can support students sooner. By identifying needs early, educators can act before small challenges become significant barriers. Research consistently shows that early identification enables timely, targeted support and prevents minor reading difficulties from becoming long-term challenges. Without early intervention, reading difficulties often persist, with many students continuing to struggle well beyond the elementary years. Universal screening shifts our approach from reaction to prevention, informing stronger Tier 1 instruction and guiding targeted Tier 2 and Tier 3 supports so we can reduce gaps and improve outcomes for all students.
During the beginning of the year collection window, 76% of LEAs successfully submitted screening data to the department. All LEAs that did not submit the data were contacted directly and offered individualized technical assistance. Additional communications were made to superintendents to support compliance with this new screening requirement, and we anticipate increased compliance during future administrations of the literacy screeners. For the first time, we have clear statewide visibility into literacy screener usage. This level of transparency allows us to better support districts and communicate more clearly with families about how students are being assessed and supported. It also promotes greater consistency and alignment across New Jersey. Notably, 71% of LEAs are utilizing 2 approved screening tools, creating a strong foundation for shared understanding and more focused support.
This is our baseline, our starting point. It reflects where students are right now, but not where they will stay. Through universal screening, we are measuring the foundational skills that are essential for reading success, whether students can name letters, identify sounds and words, decode written text, read with accuracy and fluency, and ultimately understand what they read. These are the building blocks that support all later literacy development. And this is not about comparison or evaluation. Through the priority indicators identified in the statewide screener criteria, this ensures our districts are responding to the same components in their instruction and supporting students in the indicators that are most predictive of reading success.
These data represent thousands of students whose needs we can now see more clearly, and with that clarity comes responsibility. One of the key goals of the Lear office is to strengthen the department's ability to make data-driven decisions about literacy. Reviewing these data at the state and local levels is a critical step in addressing student needs and ensuring resources are intentionally aligned to systematically close gaps. These data will guide better decisions about instruction, targeted support, and how we ensure that every student has the opportunity to become a strong and confident reader.
Research clearly shows that with high-quality, evidence-based literacy instruction, up to 95% of students can achieve reading proficiency. This is a powerful and important message. It tells us that reading success is not limited to some students, but is within reach for nearly all students when the right instruction is in place. This has significant implications for closing longstanding achievement gaps. When instruction is aligned to evidence-based practices, we move closer to ensuring that all students, regardless of background, language, or learning needs, develop the skills they need to become successful readers. The department is committed to supporting districts in making the instructional shifts needed to make this a reality. Through guidance, resources, professional learning, and targeted supports, we are working to ensure that every student in New Jersey has the opportunity to achieve reading proficiency.
The most important part of this work is what happens next. Schools now have actionable data that they can use right away. This allows educators to align instruction directly to students' needs that are aligned to the indicators most predictive of reading success and enables districts to strengthen and align their systems of support. With this information, teachers can organize targeted small group instruction, adjust core teaching, and ensure students are receiving the right support at the right time. At the system level, schools can more effectively structure interventions and monitor progress. This is how screening translates into meaningful action and ultimately into better outcomes for students. Supporting every student in every classroom requires more than just identifying needs. It requires the ability to act on them. The department's role is not only to ensure the use of effective tools, but also to provide the support systems that make those tools meaningful. We offer clear guidance and resources, including high-quality instruction materials, to help districts align curriculum and instruction with evidence-based practices. We also provide professional learning opportunities, so educators are equipped with the knowledge and skills to deliver strong literacy instruction. In addition, coaching and technical assistance are available to support teachers and leaders in using data to inform their practice. These opportunities are now offered asynchronously through the launch of our learning management system last August. Finally, grant funding opportunities through the state appropriations, as well as through the federal comprehensive literacy state development grants, are helping districts implement and sustain these efforts from birth through grade 12, ensuring that evidence-based practices are not only adopted, but deeply embedded. Together, these supports ensure that screening leads to real instructional change and real improvements in literacy outcomes for every student. This now concludes our presentation, and we're available for your questions.
Yes, sir, Dr.
I know we're at the beginning of this journey, but just can you talk a little bit about what you're planning for the future around professional development and learning opportunities for teachers? I've found that in-person, hands-on professional development really is the key to allowing teachers to effectively gain knowledge on how to implement whatever it is that you're, as a district, looking to do. And I'm going way, way back to, this is my 46th year in education, but way back when I was a principal, the state had those regional achievement centers, and there used to be opportunities for multiple districts to get together and learn together. Are there going to be opportunities like that, in particular for something as important as literacy? We know that it's critical. Research shows over and over again that, we have to get our kids reading by third grade, because at that point forward, they're not, they're going to be reading to learn at that point, or, they're learning to read at that early stage. But from that point on, that reading is going to help them either be successful in learning going forward or not. So talk about future plans. What are you going to be doing to make sure that this program in future years provides those types of supports that will help our teachers do what they need to do.
Thank you for that question. The law not only requires the screenings be done, but also that all teachers in grades K through 6 receive training in evidence-based approaches to literacy. And we have a variety of different ways that we're doing that. So on our website, free of charge, by the way, teachers, administrators, district and building leaders can go on and take multiple stages of training on evidence-based practices on reading. We also provided opportunities for this to either be presented asynchronously, that teachers can go on and do it at their own pace, or it can actually be done at the district level through PLCs. And we have facilitator guides that are available. They're on our website now. So as you were saying, Dr. Johnson, it is so important that it's not only just reading material or going to a particular workshop, but that the learning is embedded. And we also have carved out a lot of resources for teacher coaches to actually go into schools, to train the trainers, and to be there in real time to help support moving from where we were to align ourselves with Chapter 52 and 53, that evidence-based practices are the primary mode. We also have, which I referred to before, a great deal of federal funding. So we received $50 million from the federal government that's going to be used over a 5-year period of time, where we have grants literally from birth, not just school age, but from birth, prior to entering school, prior to 3 years old, working with families to help develop those very early reading skills and literacy skills, all the way up to seniors in high school. And Lisa has been a leader in this particular area. Maybe she could talk a little bit about the 4 grants that are available to CLSD.
I'll begin with the coaching grant because Dr. Schiff spoke to that. It is with this sub-grant, we awarded 61 districts coaching grants. So through that program, they're able to engage, I believe it's 41. They're able to engage closely with the department and receive customized support throughout the school year. So they are receiving funds to hire a dedicated coach, and this coach can't be used for any other purpose but pure literacy coaching. And so they receive this customized support in partnership with Rutgers University, where we're working together to train them specifically on high impact strategies for foundational literacy instruction. And so that customized support, we're hoping gets into those districts. In addition, we have an additional appropriation, state appropriation, that's adding to the cadre of coaches. And so we'll have an additional 14 that are added onto that, and we'll receive the same training. So we are slowly building out the supports through those both state and federal funds. We're kind of braiding the funds for those purposes. In addition, we have a LIFT grant, which Dr. Schiff spoke about the early childhood component from birth to birth to age 3, where we are working closely with communities and schools to develop literacy approaches and community-based approaches in non-traditional settings, so informal settings. We're seeing some incredible innovation where districts are partnering with local barbershops where kids are in the community and where they spend time, and where they can access literacy supports. School libraries and public libraries are also included in these programs. And it really is a true community effort to train parents on developing literacy in the home with the support from both the school and community specialists. So that's a really exciting grant. In addition, we have our RISE grant, which is really exciting. There's been less research on what happens to students in secondary schools regarding literacy. You know, there's a strong focus on kindergarten through grade 3, but the research base is a bit scant in looking at what happens to secondary students after they haven't, Dr. Johnson, you mentioned what happens after elementary school. We know that reading to learn or learning to read is critical, but what happens when students are reading to learn? And if they haven't mastered those skills early on, the RISE grant is focused exclusively on secondary literacy development to try to make sure that students that haven't mastered those skills are receiving the supports. So this is a grant with an innovation twist that really focuses on providing supports for those schools and for those students in secondary that haven't mastered those skills.
I would just add that it's so important. A middle school, high school child that is really decoding needs to be remediated much differently than a 5 or 6 year old that is struggling with decoding. Providing those type of interventions, and in particular morphology and in the ability to decode multiple sounds together in a way that's developmentally appropriate for middle school and high school children is a very, very important way to help improve student outcomes at that particular level as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. So with
We just have one other grant that we wanted to talk about, which is a high quality instructional material grant.
It's referred to as our impact grant, and research indicates that high quality instructional materials are the key to this all. While we can train educators, they can go through excellent educator preparation programs. If they don't have those high quality materials that they can lean on to provide instruction in evidence-based literacy, we find that it may fall apart. So this program provides funding for districts to research and invest in high quality instructional materials and adopt them. And so we provide the supports. This is coupled through the incredible work that our literacy group had done last fall, and a year ago, and provided incredible guidance with very strong rubrics to indicate what exactly high quality instructional materials are, and how they may identify them. And so we have many districts throughout the state looking at those criteria and making decisions about adopting instructional materials that really do speak to those foundational literacy components.
I hate to dominate, but just one final follow-up question. You just triggered something for me. What kind of work are you doing with EPPs to embed reading strategies and instruction at that level?
Another requirement of the law is that pre-service teachers receive instruction in evidence-based approaches. So what our program approval processes are now is aligned to the work of LEAR. So we have our office that is working on evidence-based approaches, working directly with those that are reaching out for EPP program approvals. So we have that type of tight alignment. So the teachers that are coming into the profession have that training, as well as the in-service teachers have the same training moving forward.
Is it a course? It's one course that they have to fulfill?
It's not necessarily a course, but it is the content within that is all aligned to evidence-based practices. So there has been a great deal of diversity in how we teach teachers how to teach reading. We're now tightening that alignment to evidence-based practices.
Within their disciplines.
Within all disciplines.
Right.
So it's very, very important that this cuts across all program approvals, which is currently happening.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions as well. So,
Please.
thank you, Madam President. First of all, I love the strategy, screen early, support sooner. Question, you mentioned school districts. Are you also working with providers outside the district? Those providers that receive Head Start funding, for example?
There is networking within our preschools as well. You're going to receive a presentation in just a moment about the new preschool standards, and the new preschool standards were developed collaboratively with the Office of Standards and the Office of LEAR. So our preschool experts, as well as our early literacy experts, were working hand in glove to ensure that the performance expectations are aligned to evidence-based practices, which will address whether they're in a mixed form or whether they're districts that are, or providers that are providing preschool services.
So I'd like to see, those third-party providers receive the same sort of information and support. And again, participate in this screen early, support sooner strategy.
Yep.
Also, a quick question on the materials here that you provided. Certainly appreciate the information about on slide 7, supporting every student, every classroom. I'm interested in knowing with that support, where do you anticipate or what goals do we have? When you reflect on slide 5, you see that a number of the screening subjects here or categories, you have over 50% of the students that are below grade. And so given the level of support, given this initiative, set targets for next year and what we could expect in terms of improvements or seeing these categories that are now over 50% be reduced by 10, 15, 20%? What sort of the targets can we expect when you come back to us next year to talk about this wonderful program?
Yeah. From a state perspective, what we are looking at right now is to use these tools more as diagnostic prescriptive tools, not as an evaluation of overall student performance. So these are screening tools that inform tier 1 interventions, and we have a grant that called the Bridge Grant that looks specifically at how do we develop best practices in utilizing these data to support our students in the regular ed classroom in the tier 1 setting with the overall outcome of improving student outcomes. And we have loads of statewide achievement data that over the years we can see and track particular progress. These individuals, this screening tool is not used as a summative assessment. It's used to kind of identify where the needs are, provide opportunities to shift resources, to build training, to change scope and sequence if that's needed, whatever is needed in real time for those children in that particular classroom.
But ultimately to improve student outcomes.
Ultimately to improve student outcomes, no doubt about that.
So we should expect some of these categories.
And I was just going to
Yes,
jump in
please.
and clarify as well that this is the beginning of year screener data. So we also will have middle of year and end of year. So some of those targets and increases we should see within the same school year. So
Great.
students are really getting that support and intervention. And I think both the questions are really rich, and hopefully you're hearing from the answers. There's a lot that has to happen to move the needle on literacy. And it's all of these things together, as the board has rightly pointed out. It's how do we think about the screener data? How do we think about the teacher training and support? How do we think about all of the implementation pieces? So we are excited. We'll be bringing certainly more back about this. And I think we'll also in future months be sharing some literacy trainings that are both an option for members of the public and inviting this board. So this is just the beginning of the conversation about how do all of these things fit together as we look to move the needle on literacy.
Do you want to say something? I just had a question.
Go ahead. I've talked a lot, so go ahead.
I just have a simple question. So the grants that were $50 million and it's for 5 years. Were any school districts turned away who came to you to participate in this?
Yeah, they were all competitive grants. So they needed to develop an application that was reviewed by a panel of professionals, scored, and then awarded based upon the best application that we got.
And so for those districts, is there anything being shared with the materials or anything? So at least they can try to do this on their own?
Yeah, absolutely.
The coaching modules that are a piece of the coach grant are available to the public on our to public schools on our learning management system. So all of those resources can be picked up, and all of the materials that support the implementation of those in school districts. So the professional learning notes and meeting minutes and things like that can be found on our LMS to support implementation without the grant.
And last question for me on this at this time. When these lucky recipients got the permission to be included, did you find they were more so from urban areas, rural areas, suburban areas, north, south, central Jersey? What did you find?
Our grantees were across the board, really well represented, all different district types all over the state. So the representation looked good. We can get you that information if you're interested. And I will say that we do have reissues of the grant. So the way that the grant is staggered is that we receive a certain funding level each year. And so some opportunities will provide opportunities for new cohorts to join the program. So for example, the LIFT program, which is the early literacy program, we just are announcing those second cohort of grantees. So if they didn't meet with success in the first round, they're able to apply
Another
again.
opportunity.
Yeah, and they're also able to access their scores. So if they didn't fare well in the first round, they're able to request the feedback from our readers so they can better prepare an application.
Great. Thank you.
Just quickly also add, we'll make sure again the board received it, but we recently sent out a broadcast announcing 2 additional ones, and there is a link in there to a map where you can see all of the grants that have been awarded. So we're also working to make sure that not only the screener data stuff that you see is accessible, but that who's been awarded which grants is something that every member of the public can see as well.
Just one follow-up to that, and it goes back to something that Vice President Johnson brought up. This board frequently will ask for supplemental data on INP for the district. I know we're going to hear that presentation coming up in a few minutes. Vice President Johnson asked about what you would do in field services to support districts whose, at least the ELA portion of IMP is impacted, and who don't have the wherewithal or the bandwidth to write competitive grants or who have tried to write grants. So I'm understanding limited resources, completely understand that this is a dissemination model that works in many, many places. But what extra care can you build in to make sure that those districts who will not be part of public presentation are benefiting from the grant recipients' advancements in coaching in particular?
Thank you. And I think that's central to our work. The idea that just a few receive that, we never approach it based upon those few benefit only. It's always what are the best practices that are there, and how do we elevate those practices and share out those practices? So that is typically built within all of our NGOs, whether it's literacy or high impact tutoring, or whether it's AI work that we have. It's all about seeding great ideas, finding the innovations, sharing it broadly.
I guess to that question, are there, and I don't want to use the word safeguards, but if you find that certain school districts are writing grants better, is there a mechanism to ensure that others that are that next tier are able to get access? Because if the great grant writers are consistently writing, then I would surmise that they will be traditionally accepted, right? So at what point are we trying to find a pathway for those to actually get into the system? Because this program is, and I mean, it's absolutely needed for everyone. And I understand a competitive model, but just concerned that if you have some that are better at the grant writing practice that are better than others, they will historically always they will get access to this program. And those maybe on that next tier, they may be able to get into that next round, but that third or fourth tier of schools that aren't as great at grant writing, they could find themselves kind of boxed out of this environment completely.
Very, very important issue. And maybe Lisa, you can talk a little bit about how we build the capacity of grant writers through our technical assistant that happens before they actually apply.
That's a really significant concern. And so as a result, we do take a look at the unsuccessful applications and we try to identify trends in those applications to see where maybe gaps in communication may have occurred. And as we move forward, we do revise our technical assistance sessions and even our actual notice of grant opportunities to make things more clear. A perfect example is that we've added a whole new section in several of our grants to with the narrative with more explanatory guidance, to say, when we talk about this, there's a lot of boilerplate technical language, and we've tried to include more plain language. So folks can, that haven't mastered those sneaky skills and successful grant writing, can really, to access the spirit and the intent of the grant. And we do definitely reinforce that in our technical assistance sessions. But we do analyze the unsuccessful applications to make sure that we're not disadvantaging anyone disproportionately.
Just make a comment to both those, that this is of course a broader issue across grants and something we can bring back, because there are other things we look at in terms of streamlining applications and looking at criteria and certainly analyzing that. So we'll bring more data back to this group as well.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Pardon me. So on slide 7, you guys highlighted how there are 3 main tiers of support. And I was really looking at tier 2 and 3, as one is more small group interventions versus that intensive intervention. And I kind of wanted to know from your perspective how that looks like going from that tier 2 to 3, and how maybe the school environment, the community, or even the Board of Ed makes those decisions on whether or not to utilize tier 2 or 3, especially because based on the data, it's kind of a bit more broad by below or approaching or meeting. school standards?
Yeah, great question. The tiers refer to the multi-tier systems of support, which basically says when a child needs a little bit of help, that a little bit of help should be provided within the regular classroom environment. They need a little bit more help, it may be provided in a small group setting within the classroom environment. Tier 3 is actually very intensive support that may be delivered outside of the regular classroom environment. So as the tiers go up, it's the level of need from that particular student and the level of intervention that's being provided. So these decisions are made in real time by teachers and at times by school administrators based upon the child's need. So it's not a clear delineation of if this, then you move from tier 2 to tier 3. These are judgments that are based upon the professional experience of the teacher and educators that are working with those students.
Okay, thank you.
Just one final comment to tie things up. And to me, this is a issue around, this is one of my passions as an educator. And we really need to have a sense of urgency in regards to putting out this fire in regards to our students not being able to read on grade level. And I've had this conversation with Commissioner. I hope you don't mind if I share this out, but I really feel that we should be getting like a monthly update in regards to how we're progressing with all the various things that have been put in place supporting literacy across the state. So on a monthly basis, whether you're having a formal presentation or not, if you could just give us like a update as to where we are, the kinds of evidence and data that you're seeing across the state as to how our children are moving forward in regards to this critical, important issue. Thank you.
I did not plant that idea with Dr. Johnson, but that will be happening. So you'll be hearing quite a bit more about literacy as we all move together. Thank you.
Anybody else at this time? Okay, thank you.
All right, I think I have the next piece around appointments, and I do not have any personnel appointments to present this month. So we are on to the next. Next, we're going to hear about certification of school districts. And since the March 2026 State Board meeting, the Executive County Superintendents finalized 39 NJQSAC interim reviews for school districts implementing district improvement plans in one or more of the 5 areas of district effectiveness. So I'm recommending 38 of those districts for certification this month. And Assistant Commissioner Ambrose Duckett and Executive Director Robert Gregory from the Division of Field Support and Services are here with us to share the list of districts and respond to your questions.
Thank you, Commissioner, Board President Goldenberg, Vice President Dr. Johnson, and esteemed board members. As you know, I always start with a brief story. This month is no different. I apologize. I'll keep the presentation brief and I'll keep my story a little briefer. But there's a time in our lives where we have to recognize that we've hit a certain age where we have to start making different decisions. Last month, I spoke about my son being honored, Ambrose. This month, I need to speak about my son, Jaden. Now, I engage with Jaden and Ambrose much differently. Ambrose is an academic, so we engage academically, and now he has surpassed me in his knowledge of math and other subject areas, so I let Ambrose do most of the talking. Jaden likes to engage physically through sports and activities. And this week, while they were on spring break, he had a break from practice for track and wanted to stay in shape and challenge his father to a game of basketball. And with my pride, ego, and hubris, I accepted. And we played a very different game of basketball that was part basketball, part football, and part MMA. We're not going to discuss who won because that's immaterial to the story. But after the game, he stayed out and played. I limped to the kitchen and then to the couch. And I called on two friends, Ben and Asper. Ben Gay and Asper Cream. That didn't help. So when my son came in about an hour later, he saw me on the couch and said, "Do you want another beatdown?" Now that's how my 16-year-old son speaks to his father. "Do you want another beatdown?" Now he's 16 going on 35. And I had to humble myself and said, "No, but you can provide me with my inhaler," because I was struggling to breathe, and some ice for the bumps and bruises. So I humbly come before you today and acknowledge that it is time to engage Jaden in a much different way than I had just yesterday. I am pleased to announce, as the commissioner said, that 38 out of 39 districts that were up for interim reviews have now reached the level of high performance. This speaks to the questions that you asked last year. What are we doing to support those schools who are not performing at the level where the state expects them to perform? Targeted assistance through our county offices, but also making sure that the suggestions from the county offices and the programs that are implemented with fidelity. And that comes through teacher evaluations, that comes from visits, and that comes from teachers having open and honest dialogue and conversations about how they can improve their practices. I want to commend the board for the work that they have completed last year and the year before with adjusting the point values from performance to growth. And that's why we can stand here and say we're proud that there's only one district that was not certified as high performing, and that district made significant progress. And hopefully next year we'll be presenting them, or in 6 months, we'll be presenting them as a high performing school district. And at this point, I will leave the floor open for any questions that you may have about CUSAC, not about basketball or anything else.
Academic questions, please. Bennett.
Hopefully, Ben and Asper are helping. But my comment I will lead to CUSAC. When you presented last month and you told us about coming back this month, you said you will see a difference because those districts that are coming up for certification using the redistribution point will definitely show that they're moving in the right direction. So unfortunately, my colleague, Mary Beth Berry, is not on today, but that's always Mary Beth's go-to.
Right.
So in her absence, I'll say we're moving in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Betty, I'll sit this time. Usually, I ask for the districts that achieve this to be read out loud for their moment in the sun recognition after their hard work. Could we do that?
Absolutely.
I know there are so many, but that's a good thing.
We'll start in Bergen County. We have Carlstadt Public School District. Burlington County, we have Chesterfield Township, Evesham Township, North Hanover Township, Palmyra Township, Southampton Township. In Camden County, we have Barrington School District, Black Horse Pike Regional School District. In Hudson, we have Guttenberg School District, Kearney School District, North Bergen School District, and in Hunterton, Frenchtown Borough School District, Kingwood Township School District, Lebanon Township School District. In Mercer, we have Hamilton Township Public School District. Shifting down to the shore a little bit in Monmouth County, we have Bradley Beach School District, Deal Borough School District, Howell Township Public School District, Monmouth Regional High School, Tinton Falls School District, and then Morris County, Chester Township School District, Long Hill Township School District, Mine Hill Township School District, Mount Arlington Public School District, Netcong School District. Shifting back down the shore to Ocean County, Lacey Township School District, Manchester Township School District, and Stafford Township School District. Back up north to Passaic, we have Hawthorne Public School District, North Haledon School District, West Milford Township Public School District. Somerset County, we have Green Brook Township School District, Manville and Somerville Public School Districts. In Sussex County, we have Byron Township School District, Warren County, Greenwich Township School District, Mansfield Township Elementary School District, and then Union County Mountainside School District. Again, congratulations to these 38 districts for their improvement and placement on the continuum. Thank you.
Any other comments at this time about this? No, hearing that we're moving in the right direction. I've also read other opinions that we were maybe being a little bit too lackadaisical. But we're not finding that, right?
Not
No.
Not at all. Not at all.
Good to know.
Not at all.
Good to hear. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, we're voting. So sorry. Okay. May I please have a motion to accept
moved.
these 38 school districts?
Moved.
May I please have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope. And any abstentions? Passes. And thank you very much for your effort. I know how hard it's been. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ursula.
I'm going to switch the order of the next resolutions just slightly given staff availability. So we will come back to the one related to resolution to accept donated funds.
Okay.
So I'm going to jump to the resolution to adopt the New Jersey Student Learning Standards discussion resolution. And today I'm very pleased to have our early childhood team join us to talk about the New Jersey preschool teaching and learning standards. So these are the standards that define the very beginning of a student's educational journey. And these proposed revisions are one that has not come in front of this board in a long time. And I know that this team was working long before I arrived in a reflective and collaborative way across the state to establish these. So you'll hear from them, but they worked with educators, early childhood experts, higher education faculty, and practitioners to make sure that these standards update the research and really reflect the needs of New Jersey's children and communities. So as I turn it over with these pieces, just again, thinking through, you'll hear some of the pieces around the connection to literacy and the other improvements made to these standards. So I'll now go ahead and turn it over to Katrina McCombs, Assistant Commissioner for the Division of Early Childhood Services, and Kimberly Friedel, the Director, Office of Preschool Education Programs, who will present the proposed revisions and highlight the major shifts in these standards since the 2014 ones.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, President Goldenberg, Vice President Johnson, and members of the State Board of Education. As shared by Commissioner, today's presentation provides an overview of the proposed revisions to the New Jersey Preschool Teaching and Learning Standards. These revisions build on the 2014 standards and reflect current research, a strong equity lens, and intentional alignment with the K-12 education system. This briefing is presented for State Board review and feedback as the department moves toward public comment and eventual adoption. So for today's agenda, this morning we will walk you through the documents you received in advance of this meeting and address questions you may have about the proposed revisions.
In preparing for the presentation of the standards, the Division of Early Childhood Services engaged in cross-departmental collaboration, including reviews and input from the following offices: the Office of Learning, Equity, and Academic Recovery, or LEAR, as I just heard about, the Office of Special Education, and each of the Office of Standards Content Area Specialists. We will begin today with an overview of the process the division engaged in to develop the revisions, including information about the committees, and then close with a summary of the major proposed revisions. As a reminder, all state-funded preschool districts are required to select a comprehensive curriculum that is aligned to the preschool teaching and learning standards. The State Board of Education will have the opportunity to review and adopt the entire standards document. And so we will move forward with the furtherance of the presentation on the next slide by just going over very concisely the process that was utilized to revise these standards. So the update of the preschool teaching and learning standards work started with an internal alignment review, followed by seeking stakeholders to serve on the research and writing teams via a broadcast that was released in June 2025, selecting committee members and forming research and writing teams. These teams reviewed information and drafted updates. A draft was shared internally with the Office of Special Ed and the Office of LEAR for additional feedback, which was incorporated. And after incorporating all of the edits, today we are excited to present the draft 2026 New Jersey Preschool Teaching and Learning Standards for your review. With regard to the committee composition, following our statewide call for participation, the department assembled incredible talent from across New Jersey. There were 13 stakeholders on the research committee and 27 stakeholders on the writing committee. 42% of our expert committees hold terminal degrees with broad industry experience, and most writing team members hold advanced degrees with extensive teaching experience. All 3 state regions were represented, along with suburban and urban districts. Our expert committees included 37% teaching professors affiliated with institutions of higher education, 37% industry professionals, and 26% school administrators. The writing committee featured 70% practicing educators and 30% curriculum supervisors. The preschool standards were updated to better match how learning continues into kindergarten and subsequent grades. Names and categories of the standards were changed, so everything follows the same structure as K-12. Some areas were renamed using more current language aligned with K-12 standards. For example, technology is now called Computer Science, Innovation, and Society. The updates also reflect newer research and clearer wording so teachers know exactly what young children should be learning. And so at this time, I'd like to welcome Ms. Kimberly Friedel, who serves as the Director of the Office of Preschool Education Programs. Ms. Friedel has served the department for 10 years. Her knowledge and expertise is valued, and she will now walk you through the major revisions.
Oh,
Yeah, you're good.
So as Assistant Commissioner McCombs had mentioned, districts are required to select a comprehensive curriculum, which is aligned with the New Jersey Preschool Teaching and Learning Standards. You will see today that you will be reviewing and adopting an entire document, all standards. We will be sharing highlights of these comprehensive changes with you today. There are 2 sections of the preschool teaching and learning standards that are not included in the K-12 standards. However, they are included in this document as they are critical to the implementation of high-quality preschool programs. A distinction of the New Jersey Preschool Teaching and Learning Standards is there is also a focus on developmentally appropriate teaching practices. This document includes the learning standards for students, as well as teaching practices that can be incorporated to ensure developmentally appropriate learning occurs. Developmentally appropriate practices refers to teaching approaches that are grounded in what is known about how young children grow, learn, and develop. DAP ensures that learning experiences are age appropriate, that they are aligned with typical developmental stages for preschool age students, that they are individually appropriate, that they are responsive to each child's unique strengths, needs, abilities, and interest, and that they are culturally and linguistically, relevant, respectful of and connected to each child's cultural background and experience and family context. In practice, developmentally appropriate practices means educators are intentionally designing environments, interactions, and learning experience that support the whole child, socially, emotionally, physically, and cognitively, using play-based, hands-on, and inclusive methods that promote growth and meaningful learning. This slide highlights the major updates to each domain in the revised PTLS. First, we have approaches to learning, which is focusing on critical thinking and real-world skills. Next, we have social and emotional development, and that is integrated across domains with an emphasis on individualized support, resiliency, optimistic thinking, and family engagement. In the social studies, family, and life skills standard, we are strengthening inquiry and self-regulation. It adds culturally responsive practices, it emphasizes inclusive designs, and it positions families as partners. In English language arts, it provides clear, research-based progressions for early reading and writing, including explicit alphabet instruction and print concept development. In the mathematics standards, children are learning to quickly recognize small quantities, solve simple addition and subtraction problems, and begin developing early data literacy by interpreting information. The science standard integrates the 3 dimensions of science learning: science and engineering practices, disciplinary core ideas, and cross-cutting concepts. Inquiry skills are embedded throughout all standards. The visual and performing arts standard promotes cultural awareness and emotional expression and integrates audience skills. Health, safety, and physical education has focus on mental health, relationships, wellness, and media/technology influences. World Language and Cultures places culture at the center of early learning, fosters intercultural awareness, and supports communication across languages in inclusive settings. Computer Science, Innovation, and Society has technology being used intentionally to enhance hands-on learning while promoting digital citizenship, safety, accessibility, and creative problem solving. Please note, technology is not intended to replace hands-on learning. Thank you. So the ELA revisions embed research-based practices to support emergent literacy and prepare children for rigorous learning. The approach moves from isolated skills to integrated rigorous learning. Oral language development, print concepts, and emergent writing are emphasized. The standards and teacher practices work together to create strong foundations for reading and writing. So I'd like to highlight on this slide one example of an updated ELA standard. So in the current 2014 standard, it indicates that students will follow words from left to right, top to bottom, page by page. The focus is on basic print directionality and physical navigation of text. It's an early skill where children learn how to move through text orientation and sequence. The updated standard demonstrates current research. Children begin to recognize and understand basic concepts of print, such as direction of text, the difference between letters and words, and how print carries meaning. This goes beyond directionality to include conceptual understanding of print. Children start recognizing letters versus words, and that print represents language and meaning, which is foundational for reading. The new standards also include an appendix, and these are those two standards that are not in the K-12 standards, but they are included in this document as they are critical pieces of implementing high-quality preschool programs. There's a focus of developmentally appropriate teaching practices in the preschool teaching and learning standard, and it includes the learning standards for students as well as teaching practices. The appendix topics. The first is learning environment. Now, this is not a standard. This is a narrative section of the document, but this offers suggestions for teachers to create learning environments that help students feel a strong sense of belonging, purpose, and voice, that integrate cultural representation and use materials and practices that reflect diverse identities and lived experiences to support inclusion. Examples provided include incorporating diverse books and images using multicultural labels, celebrating cultural traditions, providing materials that reflect different abilities and family structures, and engaging families in classroom activities. The second section of the appendix is assessment and documentation. As it's not developmentally appropriate for young children to participate in standardized assessments, there needs to be ongoing documentation assessment provided through ongoing cyclical processes for authentic documentation and assessment that emphasizes observation, reflection, and family input. By providing visuals and reminders to help educators ensure that a child's portfolio is seen through an unbiased lens, it includes the child's unique background, and authentic assessments are collected to acknowledge and know the whole child. This approach supports educators in capturing children's learning through multiple methods, such as anecdotal notes, work samples, and photos, while using the information to plan individualized experiences that promote growth across all developmental domains. Educators are encouraged to support individualized learning plans and help identify strengths and needs without relying on standardized measures.
Thank you, Kim. This table outlines a timeline for the review, revision, and adoption of the 2025 New Jersey Preschool Teaching and Learning Standards. It highlights key phases from expert recommendations through public comments and final adoption, ensuring transparency and stakeholder engagement throughout the process. Thank you for allowing us to present at this time. If you have any questions, we'll be happy to take those.
Yes, sir.
I'm just working with you through the committee process. Just thank you for all the work and the alignment of all this information. We understand the critical foundation that preschool builds in early literacy and really all learning. So looking forward to this conversation continuing. The ability for all the parts of the department to work outside of silos, to work across and together, the collaborative process, I think, was very important to where we are. So just thank you for the information. I'm looking forward to the results that we'll achieve. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Johnson.
Thank you. Any other comments at this time? All right. We do look forward to hearing more. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go back in agenda items. So we're going to head to the resolution to accept donated funds. And so today I'm pleased to announce that Ms. Valerie Amendolara has generously donated funds totaling $25,000 to use for memberships to organizations that provide professional learning to its school leadership, and for student activity funds, which are for the sole use of supporting student activities such as field trips, student yearbooks, clubs, and extracurricular activities. Just great timing. So Kim Murray, Acting Assistant Commissioner for the Division of Educational Services, is here today to provide additional details and respond to your questions on this resolution.
Thank you. So where will these funds be available to district students?
The majority of funds will be going to the student activity account. So that will cover graduation events, class trips, extracurricular activities, the interscholastic sports that the students from the Katzenbach School participate in with other schools for the deaf in the region.
Thank you. Any other questions at this time? Could I have a motion for them to accept their funds and their fund? Thank you very much, Board Member Bennett. May I have a second? Thank you. I believe Mr. Williams was first. And any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, please say nay. I don't believe anybody has to abstain from this, but if you do, all right, the motion is approved. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's it from your agenda. All right, thank you. Does any board member have any new business to bring up at this time? Hearing none. Thank you. May I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. May I have a second, please? Thank you, sir. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jack. Any opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? The meeting is concluded. Have a wonderful month. Thank you. Thank you.